There's a specific moment every high performer knows. The pressure arrives faster than you expected. A number on a screen turns red. A client says the one sentence you were dreading. An opponent lands something you didn't see coming. And in that half second, you feel your mind do the thing it always does. It grabs. It grabs for control of the exact thing that has already slipped out of your hands. The trade is already gone. The words are already said. The punch already landed. But your attention locks onto it anyway, replaying it, fighting it, demanding that reality be something other than what it is. And while your mind is busy wrestling the past, the present keeps moving without you. That is the freeze. Not weakness. Not lack of talent. It's a wiring problem. Your nervous system treats the uncontrollable as a threat to be defeated, and it pours all your resources into a fight that cannot be won. Now watch a professional fighter between rounds. Bleeding, behind on the cards, 60 seconds to recover. They are not arguing with the round that just happened. They've already let it go. That speed of acceptance, that's not coldness, and it's not surrender. It's the single most underrated performance skill there is. Because the calm you see in people who operate under real pressure doesn't come from controlling more. It comes from accepting faster. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to break down how that actually works. 5 principles that separate people who stay composed under fire from people who come apart. None of this is about feeling peaceful. It's about staying effective when the stakes are highest. Let's start with the mechanism nobody tells you about. Here's the first failure mode, and almost everyone runs it. When pressure hits, you stop reacting to reality and start reacting to your story about reality. The deal didn't just slip. It became, this always happens to me. The bad quarter didn't just occur. It became, we're finished. You're no longer dealing with the event. You're dealing with a narrative you built on top of the event, and the narrative is almost always worse than the facts. This is the difference between the map and the territory. The territory is what actually happened. A contract was not signed today. The map is everything your mind drew on top of it. What it means, who's to blame, how it ends. And when you confuse the two, you make decisions about a disaster that doesn't exist yet. Epictetus put it cleanly 2,000 years ago. People are not disturbed by events, but by the views they take of events. He wasn't offering comfort. He was describing a mechanism. The event is fixed. Your interpretation is not. And the interpretation is where all your power actually lives. Watch how this plays out in a trading room. 2 people take the same loss on the same position. One sees a number, logs it, and adjusts the next trade with a clear head. The other sees proof that they're a fraud. And that story bleeds into every decision for the rest of the day, turning one manageable loss into 10. Same territory, different map. The skill is catching the moment your mind shifts from describing what happened to deciding what it means. Because the moment it means something catastrophic, your body responds as if the catastrophe is real. The heart rate, the tunnel vision, the grabbing. So the first move under pressure is almost boring in its simplicity. Strip it back to the territory. Say what literally happened in one flat sentence with no adjectives. The launch is delayed 2 weeks. The investor passed. I lost the first round. No story. Just the fact. Because you cannot accept what you can't control until you can first see it clearly. And you cannot see it clearly through a story designed to protect your ego. Acceptance starts with accuracy. Once you can see the event clearly, the second principle does the heavy lifting. You have to draw a hard line between what is yours to control and what is not. And then you have to actually respect that line, especially when it's painful. This sounds simple, and almost no one does it under pressure because pressure makes everything feel controllable. When the stakes are high enough, your mind starts believing that if you just worry hard enough, push hard enough, replay it enough times, you can reach back and change the thing that's already decided. You can't. And every unit of energy you spend trying is a unit you're stealing from the things you actually can move. Think about a surgeon mid-operation when something unexpected appears. They cannot control that it appeared. They cannot control the patient's underlying anatomy, the clock, or the outcome with certainty. What they control is the next incision, the next decision, the steadiness of their own hands. The ones who stay effective are the ones who instantly drop the uncontrollable and pour everything into the small circle of what's theirs. The ones who panic are the ones still spending attention on the thing that already happened. The Stoics built their entire system on this single distinction, the dichotomy of control. Some things are up to us and some things are not. Our judgments, our chosen actions, our effort, ours. The results, other people's choices, the past, the market, not ours. And here's the part that matters for performance. This isn't a philosophy of giving up. It's a philosophy of aim. It tells you exactly where to point your energy so that none of it leaks. The leader who stays composed in a crisis isn't calmer because they care less. They're calmer because they've stopped spending themselves on the uncontrollable, which means they have more left over for the one or two things that will actually change the outcome. So in the moment, ask a brutal question. What here is actually mine? Usually, the list is short. My next decision, my tone, my effort over the next hour, everything else. Let it sit outside the line. Not because it doesn't matter, but because pretending you control it is the fastest way to lose control of yourself. The third principle is the one people resist the hardest, because it asks you to make peace with loss before the loss arrives. Most people stay composed only as long as things are going their way. The moment real downside appears, losing the client, blowing the round, the number going against them, the composure evaporates because deep down they never accepted that this outcome was possible. They were betting on it not happening. And when you've secretly bet on a perfect outcome, any imperfect one feels like a betrayal, and betrayal makes you flail. Fighters who last a long time think differently. Before they step into the ring, they have already accepted that they might get hit, might get hurt, might lose. Not as pessimism, as preparation. They've looked directly at the worst case and made their peace with it, which is exactly why the worst case doesn't shatter them when it shows up. They've already paid the emotional cost in advance, so they're not paying it in the middle of the fight when they can least afford it. This is the Stoic practice the old writers called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. Seneca advised rehearsing loss in your mind while you're calm, so that when it arrives, you meet it as something familiar rather than something that ambushes you. He wrote that the unexpected blow lands heaviest, and that the mind which has prepared for hardship is the mind that hardship cannot break. Apply it to your own pressure. Before the big meeting, the launch, the negotiation, take 2 minutes and look directly at the version where it goes wrong. The deal falls through. The product flops. The answer is no. Don't wallow in it. Just see it clearly and ask, could I handle that? Almost always the answer is yes. You'd adjust, you'd move, life would continue. And the moment you genuinely accept that the worst case is survivable, something strange happens to your nervous system. The desperation drains out. You stop gripping. And paradoxically, you perform better because fear of the outcome is no longer hijacking your attention. The person who has accepted they might lose is the most dangerous person in the room, because they're the only one still thinking clearly. You don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of what you've already accepted. Here's where a lot of advice falls apart. People tell you to accept what you can't control, to let go to stay calm. And, in the moment, it's useless, because under real pressure, you can't simply decide to feel calm. The stress response is faster than your conscious mind. By the time you've told yourself to relax, your heart rate is already up, your breathing is already shallow, and your thinking has already narrowed. You cannot win that fight from the top down with willpower alone. But there's a back door, and every elite performer under pressure knows it, even if they can't name it. You reach the mind through the body. The fastest lever is breath. When you extend the exhale, make it longer than the inhale, you send a direct physical signal to your nervous system that the threat is passing. It's not a trick or a metaphor, it's the mechanism your body uses to shift out of fight or flight. Watch a fighter in the corner, a sniper before a shot, a free throw shooter at the line in the final seconds. That slow, deliberate breath isn't a ritual for show. It's them manually downshifting their own physiology so their skill can come back online. Because here's the truth about pressure. It doesn't make you worse by adding anything. It makes you worse by taking your fine motor control, your peripheral vision, and your higher reasoning offline. Composure is just keeping those systems running when the alarm is blaring. The Stoics intuited this connection between body and mind long before we could measure it. Marcus Aurelius, writing to himself in the middle of war and plague, returned again and again to the same move. Come back to the present, to the task in front of you, the thing you can do right now. He used attention to the immediate as an anchor against a mind that wanted to spin out into everything that might go wrong. So build the physical habit before you need it. Long exhale. Feet on the floor. Eyes up and wide instead of tunneled in. Name one thing you can actually do in the next 60 seconds, and do that. You're not trying to feel peaceful. You're trying to keep your hands steady and your thinking clear while the pressure does what pressure does. Acceptance isn't only a decision you make in your head. It's a state you can enter through your body, and the body is the lever you can actually pull when your mind has gone offline. The final principle is what ties the others together, and it's the one that turns acceptance from a feeling into a discipline. Once you've seen the event clearly, drawn the line around what's yours, accepted the cost, and steadied the body, there's one move left, and you have to make it again and again. Return to the work in front of you. Not the work you wish you had, not the outcome you're chasing. The single next action that is actually available to you right now. Because here's what no one tells you about composure. It's not a state you achieve once and hold. It's a return you make 1,000 times. Your attention will keep drifting back to the uncontrollable, the result, the past, the what if, and your job is simply to notice that drift and bring it back to the task. The composed person isn't someone whose mind never wanders into fear. It's someone who has gotten very, very fast at returning. Think of a marathon runner at mile 20, when the body is failing and the finish is still impossibly far away. The ones who break are the ones who run the whole remaining distance in their heads and drown in it. The ones who finish shrink the world down to the next step, the next breath, the next lamppost. They're not ignoring the distance. They've accepted they can't control how far is left. So, they pour everything into the only thing they can control, which is this stride, right now. That narrowing is not avoidance. It's mastery. This is the deepest version of the Stoic idea. Acceptance was never about passively letting life happen to you. It was always about clearing away everything you can't move so you can act with total commitment on the thing you can. Marcus wrote that you have power over your mind, not over outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The strength he meant isn't the strength to control the world. It's the strength to stop trying and to put everything you have into your own next action instead. So when the pressure is highest and 100 uncontrollable things are screaming for your attention, the discipline is almost insultingly simple. What is the next right thing I can actually do? Do that. Then ask again. That's it. That's the whole practice. And the calm you've been looking for was never on the other side of controlling more. It was always on the other side of accepting what you can't and getting back to work. So put the picture together. The person who stays composed under pressure isn't built different. They've just trained 5 moves that everyone else skips. They strip the event back to what actually happened, before the story makes it worse. They draw a hard line around what's theirs and refuse to bleed energy across it. They accept the cost in advance, so the worst case can't ambush them. They use the body, the breath, the posture, the present moment, to keep their mind online when the alarm is blaring. And then they return, over and over, to the one action in front of them. None of that is comfort. All of it is performance. The fighter in the corner, the surgeon over the table, the leader before the decision they can't take back, they all share the same quiet skill. They've stopped fighting reality and started working with it. Because the energy you waste, demanding the world be different, is the exact energy you need to do something about it. This week, pick one pressure you're carrying, one outcome you keep trying to control that isn't yours. Name what actually happened in one flat sentence. Draw the line, accept the cost, and then ask the only question that ever changes anything. What's the next thing I can actually do? That's where composure lives, not in controlling the storm, in how steadily you move through it.